Hey, hockey fans, and welcome back to another edition of Puck My Life. We were not expected to be recording tonight, but in lieu of what has happened over the last 24 hours or so, we decided, hey, we're going to get on here and honor one of the greats that we've been able to kind of grow up watching. And we're going to talk about Johnny Gaudreau. As most of you should know by this point, Johnny and his brother Matthew were killed in a car accident, allegedly by a drunk driver. Has that actually been 100% confirmed yet, Cody, on whether or not he was under the influence of some sort of
I think at
alcohol or
this
something?
point it's he's accused of operating a vehicle while under the influence, and he's been charged with 2 counts of DUI resulting in death. So
Okay. And I also heard from another friend earlier today that he had actually had his run in with the law a little while ago and had got released or something. Some suspension was lifted, and I don't know. The whole thing is just messed up. We were talking about it a little bit before off camera, and the more you dive into this, just it's just how bad you feel for the Gaudreau family. So I know when Cody was the first person to tell me this morning, and I didn't want to believe it. I had seen posts before, like a couple months ago. I saw somebody posted on Facebook that something had happened to Vladimir Tarasenko, and they're like, season ending or career ending injury or something like that. And I clicked on it, and then it was just all false. And I was hoping that this was the case, but unfortunately, it was not the case, and it's a devastating blow to hockey. No matter if you were a fan of the Columbus Blue Jackets or not, like this is just something devastating to happen, and it's it's something that it's I've told some people today it's a hard pill for me to swallow. Johnny was one of the players that really got me going into hockey, like to really start to watch it more, engage more with the sport. Uh, One of the reasons why I became a Calgary fan, and one of the reasons why the driving force behind why we ended up going to the Saddle Dome and watching games. So tonight
mhm.
we're going to talk about the legacy of this player. I don't know too much about his brother, unfortunately, but like I said earlier, the more you dive into what happened, we'll touch on it just briefly. But yeah, this the reason why he was in this part of the country. His sister was supposed to get married Friday night, and now that has most likely been called off. And I think you said before we jumped on to something with Matthew that happened just recently. You want to touch on that real quick?
Yeah, I think his now widow had just found out that they're expecting their first child together. So it's not just parents that lost sons; it's not just wives that lost husbands. I mean, there's I think 3 kids now that don't have a father. So it's what a just a I mean, they were supposed to gain a son tonight, on Friday, and instead on Thursday they lost two. So it's a really,
Yeah.
I don't know how as a family, like I don't think you recover. I think you just survive. That's such a tough thing. I can't even imagine. My heart goes
Yeah,
out to them.
to have all of that happen in such a short period of time. You have the celebration of marriage coming up. You have the celebration of a new family member on the way, and then it's all like everything's deflated at that point. One careless decision by one person, and it turns happiness to tragedy. And it like I said, it's a hard pill to swallow. Like this is at times today, it's like I was a little teary eyed, and it's tough. I mean, this goes beyond hockey. in my
I think
opinion.
we'd be remiss not just, to mention the, Columbus Blue Jackets community as well. I mean, it was
Yeah.
only, I think, a little over 3 years ago that they lost Matthias Kivlenix, one of their up and coming goaltenders, in a horrible fireworks accident, as well, where, um, it's a sudden player, that was just taken way too young. And, to have two, two players like that taken way too early for one team, in a matter of just a few years, that's really tough. So, not only do our
Yeah.
hearts go out to the Gaudreau family, but the Columbus Blue Jackets community, and in the Calgary Flames community as well. I think Johnny spent 9 years there as a player, so um, that's really tough for them and their fan base. And then his brother Matthew had, I think, most recently played in the ECHL for the Worcester Railers. So our heart goes out to them and their fans and everyone in their community that he had touched as well.
Yeah. And Johnny was also part of Team USA, and he um, won many awards uh, while he was in Boston College as well. Phenomenal player there, and that's kind of where I first started to notice him was through that Frozen 4 year, and was excited for him to go to the Flames. And yeah, it's just this is tough. I One of my favorite clips, and I wish I had a to show, but there's a if you go on YouTube and look it up and just type in Johnny Gaudreau and Sean Monahan, there's a part, and I think it was after Johnny had scored the game-winning goal in like overtime, I think against Dallas or something in a recent playoff, and Sean Monahan wasn't playing that night, but there's a view from Sean standing in the tunnel where the players come in, and the look on Johnny's face when he sees his teammate, and then he just with the biggest smile goes up and embraces him. And um trying to hold it together, but it's just one of the most beautiful moments that I've seen in hockey. And um I remember seeing that. I think they broadcast it live soon after it happened, and I just thought it was one of the coolest moments. Two of my favorite players growing up, and to see that interaction was phenomenal. And I can't imagine what even like his teammates feel like going through at this time. I know Johnny had won awards for being basically one of the he's a gentleman on and off the ice, and he was highly respected by a lot of players. And it's tough.
I mean,
It's
just a
really tough.
remarkable story too. I mean, he's was a fourth round pick that a lot of most fourth round picks don't see NHL games, and he's only 5'9", pretty undersized for the NHL. And I mean, not only did he make it in the NHL, he was a star. And just I was reading today, kind of talking about his free agency decision a couple years ago, where the Flames were ready to back up the Brinks truck for him. The Islanders, the Devils, there's a whole lot of teams that were, you know, they're ready to basically write a blank check to the guy. And he shocked everybody and went to Columbus, and because he felt that was a good place to raise his family. He knew he was going to make a lot of money no matter where he went, and so he made the decision, for his family and where would be a good place to raise his kids. Which, I mean, that earns a lot of respect for me. That
Yeah.
it wasn't. I don't know. He made his decision based on his family, not where he's going to make the most money, and not where no disrespect to the Columbus, that at the time that was not the place to go to win a Stanley Cup. And so that I think that was pretty cool that he made a decision that was not just about the number of zeros that would be on the check.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know that, like, I guess he's originally from New Jersey,
Mhm.
and so it was a little bit closer to home, especially from Calgary. I mean, that's quite a hike, and so yeah, he that just says a lot about his character. He put his family first, and like this is a good place to take his family to, and like you said, raise them there. And so he was definitely looking forward to the future and life beyond hockey. So I respect him for that. And tonight we're just gonna kind of go and talk about some of our experiences with Johnny. I know Cody has some stats and stuff he wants to go over. Cody's really good at keeping stats on all the games that he's been to, so it's actually pretty remarkable. We could do just a whole video on that. But what kind of getting into, so a couple years ago we did have the opportunity to travel to Calgary. This is probably this was our first, well, it was, I think, our second trip, right? Like this was after we went to Ottawa and did
Hmm.
Toronto.
Yep, our
This was the
second big hockey
second.
trip.
Yep, this was our second big hockey trip to date at that time, and it's just like this was something that I didn't think was possible. You know, I had been a Flames fan for a while, and always looking at the map and seeing how far Calgary was away, and hadn't done much traveling by myself in Canada, and I just, I didn't know if I was ever going to make it here. And sure enough, we did. We had a phenomenal time. It was everything I expected when I was there, being part of the Sea of Red and going to a historical building like the Saddle Dome. It was it was almost for most of it, it was a little surreal for me, because it's a place I never thought I'd make it to, and we made it, and we got to see Johnny play that night. Actually, the night before, we were in Edmonton and we watched the Edmonton Oilers play the Calgary Flames. That's who they were playing right that night.
Yep.
Flames, yeah. And Johnny was actually not playing that night. And I know both you and I were pretty bummed about it. And then we come down to Calgary like 2 days later, and there's Johnny with Sean on the bench. And it was awesome to see that they were playing the Winnipeg Jets that night. And I'm so glad to have this memory. I've seen Johnny play in different barns across the NHL. Whenever I get a chance to watch Calgary, I try to take it. Whether it's in Detroit, I've seen them play in Tampa. I've seen them play all over. So it's I'm glad that I was able to see as much as I saw. And Cody, you want to kind of go over, you said that he had some impressive stats, not only at the games you were at in his career, but you want to talk a little bit about just even what you witnessed him do in the games that you were able to watch him play.
Yeah, so I got to see him play 3 times, two of those in the regular season. So I think you probably saw him play, 4 or 5 times, I would think. Um,
Yeah.
but I keep stat track of all the stats of every skater for every game NHL game I've been to. And Johnny actually ranks second, from every NHL player I've ever seen skate in a regular season NHL game. He is second for most points per game. So I saw him play twice, and in those 2 games, he scored 2 goals and 4 assists, excuse me, for a total of 6 points, including the game winner in one of the games we went to. Um, so I mean, the only person who's got him beat is Nathan McKinnon, and that's pretty good company to be in. Johnny obviously was a phenomenal player. You don't earn the nickname Johnny Hockey without being great, and he put up some pretty good stats in his time in the NHL. I think he played what, maybe 11 full seasons. Let's see, one, two, yep, 11 full seasons. Skated in 763 games, put up 243 goals, 500 assists, 500 on the dot actually, um, for 743 points. So I mean, he was almost a point per game player
Yeah.
throughout his career. And things did slow down a little bit the last couple seasons in Columbus. But, it was just a few years ago, that final season with the Flames. He had that amazing year, 40 goals and 115 points. Which, especially when you think about, he's 5'9", which, everyday life, that's, pretty average height. But for the NHL, I mean, he was small out there, but he was elusive, and I mean that's
Yeah.
what's so fun. I think about watching his highlights is just how he might not have been fast, but he was quick.
Yeah.
Um, and then just the hands on him. I mean, it was entertaining to watch, and he put up amazing numbers in college too. Won the Hobie Baker national title, scored some big time goals too. Because I know that last year with the Flames, he had that Game 7 winner against Dallas that I think you referenced earlier.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure he won. He scored the goal that won BC the national championship in 2012, I think, or was it 13? I think 2012 when yeah. So I mean he put up big numbers and he came up big in clutch moments. So and what I think is really fun looking back on just kind of his international career. He played in a lot of big tournaments for Team USA. But what I think I look most fondly back is the 2016 World Cup of Hockey. He played on that Team North America that was just stacked,
Mm-hmm.
with a bunch of future big name NHL players. Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews was on that team, Dylan Larkin. I mean, just the names on that team um, are. I mean, they're the top of the class in the NHL right now, and Johnny was part of
Yeah.
that. And I think it's sad to for the NHL fan in me. It's sad to not be able to see what more he could have accomplished. I mean, he accomplished a lot in the 11 seasons that he played. I mean, at the pace he was playing, he probably had another 8 to 10 years. So I think you know I'm sad for all the hockey fans. That we're missing out on the greatness that he could have put out more on the ice. Obviously, that pales in comparison to everything else going on, but it's just sad all around.
Yeah. Like we said, the more you look at it from just their tragic death to all everything surrounding before and what was going to come after, it's such a sad story. And that family is devastated right now. I think there's members that are just still in just utter shock. Like this is going to take a while to heal from. And yeah, I think that this is going to have some sort of effect going into the season since we're so close to it going. I don't know what kind of effect we're going to see. I've seen a bunch of teams, honoring Johnny, and I think we're going to see more of that as the season goes on. He played for some good franchises, and he had an impact on the game for sure. Um, so
I've been really, I guess it's been really good to see. I think, obviously, Johnny's hockey career, was far more successful than his brother Matthew, but there's been I don't think the loss of Matthew has been lost in any of this either. Which
yeah,
is really good to see. I've seen a lot of eulogies to Matthew as well. I heard from some Worcester fans earlier today, just how because I think he was there their inaugural season and their second season, and just
hmm
in the 2 years he was there, Matthew made a huge impact in the community there, and everything I've seen about both Johnny and Matthews that I never had the pleasure of meeting either of them, but it seems like
yeah,
they were both really down to earth guys that were really friendly and um, they were just well liked people from everything I've heard. I haven't I even as long as I've been a fan of Johnny Gaudreau, I don't think I've heard anyone have a negative thing to say about the guy. He just seemed like a world class hockey player and human.
yeah, yeah. He's going to be greatly missed all around the hockey community, and yeah, it is hard to put it in words right now. I mean, this news just broke, less than a day ago, and it's still, to me, it's still a little surreal. I feel like at some point I'm just gonna wake up and things are kind of back to the way it was a couple of days ago. But yeah, we were planning on possibly going to that stadium series out in Columbus. That would have been a good time to go watch them and stuff like that. And now I'm glad we took the opportunities that we did have to go see it. I mean, this a lot of people say, when somebody passes away, whether it's a family member or one of people you look up to or something, it's just you know people are always reminded, life is so precious. With this whole hockey thing that we're doing, we're trying to do as much as we can within our means and trying to go at this where we're not living with any regrets as we travel around and watch these phenomenal players play at all different levels. And it's just, if you're ever on the fence about getting going on whether going and traveling or just going to a few games locally or whatever, supporting your local teams, take advantage of that. It's just life is just so precious. And it's sad at times that it takes tragedies like this to remind us that it is that precious. And I think so many times with how busy life is and from all the stuff that's happening in the world and everything, it's just very easy to sweep those thoughts under the rug. And uh, but that is something that we do need to take to heart and know that life is precious. And you know over the next season, make sure you make the best of it. Reach out to people, go hang out with them at the rink, have a good time, make some memories. I know that's one thing that I love about what we've done is that each one of these pucks that is on this wall, I can pick it up, hold it, and talk about the memories of getting it, whether we were in Hart, Iowa watching the Heartlanders, or we were in Ferris State watching the Bulldogs, or even our first time in Calgary. And I have the Calgary official game puck up there. So get out there, guys. Live life because it's not gonna last forever. That is the truth. Life is not gonna last forever. Nobody knows the day or the hour when they're gonna pass away, but it's just go out there and live life, people. It's just too precious.
To me, I think what makes it even more painful is just how preventable this was. Just
Yeah.
We've
Totally.
in the modern age, we've got Lyft, we've got Uber. I mean, it's just at the end of the day, a cab ride will never cost you more than it's way cheaper to get a cab than to deal with the death of innocent people, you know the jail time, the lawyers, which is the least of it. I mean, two innocent
Yeah.
people, were just on a bike ride, and now the entire hockey world and a family is mourning the loss just because one irresponsible decision that just call a cab. It's
Yeah.
just that much easier.
Drink and drive responsibly, people. Can't say it enough. Like Cody said, it's not worth it. It's just not. And like you said, going back and talking to my friend Brad earlier today, he was saying some of the stuff that this guy had done in the past, and it's like there were already red flags there, and he probably shouldn't have had his driver's license. He shouldn't have been out there at all. And whether he was sober or he was drunk, he had done some things, and he did not get. It sounded like he did not get punished like he should have been, and this could have easily been prevented if they would have actually, like, the judge and stuff would have done their job and actually, like, punished him. And it just seemed like he got more or less a slap on the wrist. And I think that's why he didn't take it seriously, and then he didn't care, and then now he's out there riding around and tries to pass that SUV and then takes out Matthew and Johnny. So yeah, and one thing I did, I had a few notes written down here for tonight, and I the with the page, we follow a lot of people who sell jerseys and do the cards and stuff like that. And a lot of people were talking about people profiting off of the loss of Johnny Gaudreau. So, Cody, I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that. We've seen that happen countless times when an athlete or some public figure passes away, and then people just see it as more or less a money grab. So I just kind of want to get your thoughts on that and what you think.
Yeah, obviously, something like this is drawing interest, to the legacy of Johnny Gaudreau. And so that's, obviously people are going to be interested in, buying Johnny Gaudreau jerseys, buying, his trading cards, things like that, keepsakes that, to help, maybe cement the legacy of Johnny Gaudreau in their own lives. And so, I think that's frankly a healthy way to mourn, but I mean, I'm sure there's people that that are card sellers that maybe own his Young Guns card or something. I haven't looked into it, but I would speculate there's probably been some people that have went and raised the prices on Johnny Gaudreau stuff just to try and make some money off that, which I think is really sad. But I think turning the conversation in a more positive light, I'm going to be making a $13 donation to the Nationwide Children's Hospital, which was a charity that Johnny liked to support in the Columbus area. I know some folks are, making $13 donations, 13 being his number, and,
Yeah.
to kind of in the memory of Johnny and Matthew to help support, kind of a favorite charity of theirs. So that'll be something I'll be doing. Hopefully, if you're looking to kind of honor Johnny, that's really Johnny or Matthew. That'd be a really good way to do it. You know, you know, help somebody else benefit in their memories.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as the items and stuff like that go, it's going to happen. I- you know, but I just I don't know what to think about it. It's just yeah, it's going to happen regardless. With people raising the price of that stuff, I think a lot of more people are, because like you're never going to get a new autograph from him, and so yeah, that stuff is now limited. Um, so I can see definitely the prices of stuff going up. Will they stay up? I don't know. Typically, when somebody like that passes away, it stays up right after, and then it kind of dies back down. So we'll see. I still it's one of the jerseys now that I'm regretting I didn't get is the jersey that Cody has hanging up behind him. He picked that up at the Saddle Dome when we went there, and I kind of wish I would have got one. I actually, at the time, if I was gonna get one, I was actually gonna get the Sean Monahan one. That's the one I wanted. But uh, looking back at it, hindsight, I wish I would have got the Gaudreau one. But yeah, he is going to be missed, and he's never going to be forgotten. That is for sure. Johnny Hockey will have a lasting impression on this league that I don't think will ever fade away. And
Definitely not.
yeah, it's sorry, it's like I keep pausing. It's just like my mind just starts to wander, and then it's just like this is tough. Like I've never athletes. I've had other athletes that I've seen that have passed away, but of all the athletes, I think this is the one that has hit me the hardest, just because he's, like I said earlier, he's one of the driving forces that really got me into hockey. Him and Sean, and to have one of those guys gone is hard for me. But in Johnny's memory, I I appreciate everything that he did. He was a phenomenal player. I love watching him from start to finish. And every time like I'd watch it on TV, the Flames, I'd always be looking for Johnny. Like, what's Johnny doing? Because he'd always, like you said, he was very elusive. He'd slide around, and it's like you never know when he's gonna pop up and do something. And yeah, I watched every minute of their last playoff run and enjoyed it. So rest in peace, Johnny and Matthew. and our prayers and thoughts are with the organizations that they went through and their families. So, um, yeah. Rest in peace, Johnny. So, um, yeah, we didn't really have too much of a structure for tonight. I did have a few things just written down that I wanted to touch on, but we're gonna wrap things up for the night. Do you have anything else that you would like to um, end with tonight, Cody?
I don't think so. I don't think there's, much more to be said. It's a sad day for, for all of the hockey community, the Flames and Blue Jackets, Boston College, Worcester Railers, families, and the Gaudreau family most of all. I would just encourage you, um, you know, make some donations in Johnny and Matthew's names, to some of the charities that they supported. Just I'm excited to see, I guess, how the hockey community rallies around this, and you know, what kind of tributes we see for Johnny and Matthew, because they, you know, clearly, we're two guys that never met them in real life. We were able to
Mm-hmm.
see Johnny play a few times, and um, you know, certainly made an impact on us and many others. So,
Yeah.
they deserve to be honored.
Yep. They do. They do. And so we're gonna wrap things up for tonight. I'll let you guys go. You guys have a great rest of your night. And when you see your loved ones, hug them a little harder next time. Tell them that you love them. We said it before. We'll say it again. Life is too short. Life is too precious. Everything that we do over here is for the love of hockey, and what these guys did for hockey went beyond hockey. They were great people on and off the ice, and I wish I would have been able to have a chance to meet him. He was one of my favorites, and he will always be one of my favorites. So, rest in peace, Johnny. You guys have a great night, and we'll see you at the rink.